When it comes to fantasy football this year, I don't like Derek Carr and I don't like Ben Roethlisberger. But if you pair up one of these mid to late quarterbacks like Carr or Big Ben with the right QB2, you're gonna have a solid team. I'm gonna reveal to you my best quarterback pairings for fantasy football 2017. What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. These are my top 5 quarterback pairings for this year. If you guys want more awesome strategies and tips to help you crush it on draft day, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification icon. Before I reveal my top 5 list, let's talk about what quarterback pairings are. It's basically when you have a QB1 that might have a few really tough games. Of course, they have one bye week. Then your QB2 has a really easy schedule during that QB1's bye week, and when that QB1 faces tough secondaries. Some of the factors I look at when I come up with the top 5 list for quarterback pairings, or as some call it, QBBC, quarterback by committee. I look at draft value. Where can you get these guys? I look at how many total fantasy points they're going to provide to you. And most importantly, I look at how their schedules match up. When one has a tough week, I want to make sure the other has an easy week. And here are my top 5 quarterback pairings. Number 1, we have Derek Carr, a guy that has the toughest fantasy schedule for any quarterback this season. That's right, number 32, absolute dead last. When he's playing in Denver, you don't want to start this guy. When he's on a bye week, you can't start this guy. And my perfect pairing for Derek Carr is Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton just went undrafted in the Instagram Experts League. He's going in the later rounds or going even undrafted in 12-man leagues. So you can get him for super cheap or even pick him up off waivers. And I'm telling you, these schedules match up beautifully. Andy Dalton's playing the Browns while Derek Carr is playing Denver. And when Derek Carr is on bye, Andy Dalton has an easy schedule. This is a pairing made in heaven. The 3 weeks you don't want to play Derek Carr is when he faces Denver twice, and of course his bye week. Another quarterback you can pair up Derek Carr with is Eli Manning. When Derek Carr is on bye, Eli plays the Niners, and it matches up pretty decently, but Andy Dalton matches up even better. Even if you like Eli Manning slightly better than Dalton, I think Dalton's the right guy to pair him up with, and I would definitely go for Dalton if I have Carr. That's how much their schedules align. And for some reason, if you hate Dalton or Eli Manning, who's being drafted super late, you can go with Bortles. These guys match up okay, but like I said, I really like Andy Dalton. That's my number 1 quarterback pairing, by the way. Derek Carr and Andy Dalton. If I didn't make that clear, that's at the top of my list. Absolute number 1. Just an awesome pick. Like, I like Derek Carr. I just don't like when he's facing the Broncos. And you might want to bench him during some other weeks too, like we got the Chiefs. Yeah, that's about it. Number 2, my second most favorite quarterback to pair another quarterback with and go quarterback by committee is Eli Manning and Carson Wentz. As you can see, their schedules line up pretty good. We have Eli Manning playing the Broncos, while Carson Wentz, that week 6, is playing Carolina Panthers. And when Eli Manning's playing Seattle, Carson Wentz is playing Washington. That's not too bad. When Eli Manning is on bye, Carson Wentz plays the Niners. It's pretty good, I would say. So I really like this pairing. Carson Wentz, you can get super late. Some people like him as a sleeper, so his ADP is not as good, but Carson Wentz still you can get in the very late rounds, so shouldn't be a problem. Also, Eli Manning is going super late too. At number 3, my third favorite quarterback to pair another quarterback with is Marcus Mariota. And you're going to be hearing same names quite often. Pair him up with Andy Dalton. This is pretty sweet. We have Marcus Mariota week 3 going against Seattle, while Andy Dalton's facing the Packers. Mariota's playing the Texans while Dalton's facing the Browns. And when Mariota's on bye, Dalton faces the Colts. And when Dalton's on bye, Mariota faces the Colts. Pretty good lineup. I'm looking at this and there's only 1 or 2 weeks where it's a tough start. Other than that, pretty easy. Mariota is a quarterback a lot of people like in fantasy, and Dalton is one of my favorites in fantasy, as I see him having a little bit of a bounce back year, having a decent year, and like I said, is going pretty much undrafted in 12-man league. At number 4, we have Phillip Rivers, and the perfect quarterback to pair Phillip Rivers up with is Tyrod Taylor. Now that Sammy Watkins is out of Buffalo, I think it hurts Tyrod Taylor's value just a little bit, but like I said, just a little bit, because Sammy Watkins is injury prone and is probably going to get hurt anyway, so Tyrod's just going to have to do it on his own. He gets a little bit of rushing yards, gets a couple rushing touchdowns. He's a decent quarterback, but the way these guys pair up is awesome. Week 1, you're starting Tyrod Taylor. You're benching Phillip Rivers as he's playing at Denver. Tyrod Taylor's on bye. Phillip Rivers is playing at Oakland. Then the next week, Phillip Rivers is facing the Broncos again, while Tyrod Taylor is facing the Bucks. A lot of good matchups here. So if you want to, let's say, sit Phillip Rivers against Jacksonville, they might have a really good defense this year. That week 10, Tyrod Taylor's playing the Saints, and so on and so forth. Like Phillip Rivers versus Cleveland, week 13. Tyrod Taylor versus New England. That's probably not going to end up too good, except for some garbage time potential there. And if you can't get Tyrod Taylor, you can get Andy Dalton. They match up fairly well, but I think Tyrod and Rivers is going to get you the max amount of fantasy points. Big Ben was a guy that I was pretty tore on. I don't like Big Ben in fantasy. He'll put up some really good points, usually at home, and will put up some duds on away games. But with Martavis Bryant coming back, I think he's going to be pretty good this year. But again, boom or bust. So if we can kind of predict some of these bust games, tough schedules on the road, maybe bench Ben Roethlisberger, and pair him up with a guy like Carson Palmer, a guy who's going undrafted or drafted super late. He's definitely not being drafted as a QB1 in any league, so you can get him super cheap. I think this is a really good combo, and I had to do a lot of digging through the schedules to find this one, guys, but it's pretty good. Ben Roethlisberger versus Minnesota, week 2. Carson Palmer at Indy, week 2. That's not so bad. Look at this one. You probably want to bench. Depends on how it's going so far, but like 5 weeks into the season, we'll have a good idea how things are going, if any surprises are going on or whatever. Ben Roethlisberger at Kansas City, week 6. Carson Palmer versus Tampa Bay, week 6. That's a good one. When Palmer's on bye, Ben's playing the Lions, not so bad. And when Ben's on bye, Palmer is playing SF. There's a lot of other good matchups here. Like Palmer has 3 really bad matchups, week 10 through 12, Seattle, Houston, and Jacksonville. While Big Ben, those same weeks, has Indy, Tennessee, and Green Bay. And 2 of them are home games. So that's pretty good. This matches up very well. And I know you guys are scared of Palmer. I am too. But I'm also scared of Big Ben. So that's why Big Ben's number 5 on my list. If you can't get Palmer, another guy that really matches up well, or I don't know if I should say guy, but I guess Deshaun Watson or whoever is going to be the quarterback for the Texans. Right now at this point, it seems like Tom Savage is going to be the quarterback. But Deshaun Watson's pretty good, and I'm not sure who's going to be starting. But whoever's starting on the Texans is going to be good. And the good thing about that, like, okay, we don't know who's going to be the starter, or we're just not 100% sure. There's like a little question mark at least on the Texans QB. What's awesome about that, though, is that no one's drafting a Texans quarterback. So you can pick up Tom Savage week 1 or week 2, just off waivers, free agency, or Deshaun Watson, depending on whoever's starting. And they match up very well. I'm obviously not going to rank this super high because it's just it's a Texans quarterback. It's not that reliable. This comes in at number 5. And this is going to be really helpful for you if you're in a deep league, right? Because it's tough to get 2 quarterbacks. You're going to be giving up a lot of good draft picks that you would have got other than drafting a QB2. So this does come in good. It's good knowledge. It's always good ammo, good knowledge to know these things for draft day. Because you guys are so awesome, I'm going to give you one bonus quarterback, and that is Tyrod Taylor. Now, Tyrod Taylor matches up with a lot of quarterbacks and really well. Could get a lot of value. A lot of people love drafting Tyrod Taylor. They love his floor because of the rushing yards. So we have Tyrod Taylor and Matthew Stafford. We also have Taylor and Palmer, Taylor and Wentz, and Taylor and Bortles. Those guys you can get late in the draft. They all match up quite well with Tyrod Taylor, and this is good to know. So the reason I do this is not like I'm going, like usually when I go into a draft, even though I study QBBC, quarterback pairings, I study it a lot. I come out with articles and videos about it. It doesn't mean I'm gonna go into the draft and draft 2 QBs that pair up, but it's good to know these things. It's good to know like every draft there's a surprise. Like last year, for example, I didn't take Kelsey in any of my drafts, nor did I even mock draft Kelsey once, and I did a lot of mocks. And I go to my couch league, Kelsey's there at the end, the very end of round 6, second to last pick of round 6, I believe it was. And I'm like, man, I got Kelsey ranked super high. He dropped a couple rounds. I have to draft him here. He's the best tight end available by far. Greg Olsen was drafted like 2.5, 3 rounds ago. So I took Kelsey there. This could be the same thing. Maybe I really want Brady and Rodgers and they're both gone in the beginning of the 3rd round. I can't get them. So I might have to do quarterback pairings. It's also good to know, even with guys like Brady or Rodgers, who I'm 99.9% sure I'm not going to be drafting a second quarterback if I draft one of those elite guys. Hey, I'd like to know what backup quarterback pairs up well with these guys. Let's say when Brady's on bye, can I get a cheap quarterback that I know is going to have a good week? Maybe he's going to be in a New Orleans Saints type matchup and have a shootout. Hey, I always love that. So it's good to know these things. I'll provide a link below where I got this. It's from Fantasy Pros. I use them every year for quarterback rankings. This is not a sponsored video or anything. They just have a cool resource for that. And I also use them to do my mock draft simulations. So that's it, folks. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know down in the comments below if you like any of those quarterbacks I mentioned, and if you'd consider drafting one of the QB2s to pair up with one of the quarterbacks that I mentioned, like Derek Carr, which is my favorite one. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe by hitting the couch icon over here if you haven't subscribed already, and I'll see you guys on the next video.